All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It is February 23rd, 2026, 6:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mrs. Miller. Here. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Soderman.
Here.
Mr. Palma.
Here.
Mrs. Stark. Here. 6 present. We have quorum.
All right, first item on the agenda is the rezoning of Sunbury 37 LLC. That has been rescheduled to March 23rd, 2026 to allow for verification of parcel numbers. Item number 2 on the agenda, we are opening up a public hearing for conditional use 100 North Street. The applicant is requesting a conditional use for the continuance of a non-conforming use. This conditional use would allow for the applicant to install a covered structure on the front of their home. That said, I'm going to hand it over to legal counsel, Mr. Whitney, lay out the framework for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. As the Mayor indicated, my name is Vic Whitney. I'm legal counsel to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This next item up here on the agenda is a public hearing on a conditional use permit application for 100 North Street. As you can see, there's a stenographer here who's taking down everything that's being said. So in a moment, if there's anyone here that wishes to offer any type of comment or testimony on this application for the conditional use for 100 North Street only, that's what we're talking about right now, then we'll have you stand in a moment and the stenographer will swear you in. Then when the mayor takes back over conduct of the hearing, in turn, when the public or the applicant has the opportunity to provide that testimony or comment, the mayor will direct you up to the lectern here. Please, when you come up, state your name and your address clearly into the microphone slowly so we can make sure the stenographer can take down what's being said. Provide your comment. The commission may or may not have questions for you. If they do, please allow them to ask the questions before you respond. Once again, we have a stenographer trying to take down everything that's being said, and to assist her with that, we ask that only one person speak at any given time. So with that said, anyone who believes that they may wish to offer any type of comment on this conditional use application for 100 North Street, including the applicant, please stand up right now. We're going to have the stenographer swear you in, and then to the extent you or do come up and provide testimony, then that way you'll be sworn in at that point and we won't have to do it again. So anyone that believes they may want to offer any testimony or comment on this conditional use for 100 North Street, please stand and raise your right hand.
Is everybody that? Oh, just over here. Okay.
Yeah.
You swear that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the counties of perjury?
I do. And Mr. Mayor, before I turn it back over to you, we do have 3 exhibits to admit into the record as part of this public hearing. I have marked as Exhibit A, the conditional use application and the submittals that the applicant submitted with that. There's 9 total pages, which includes the application, the narrative statement, the 2 pages of Delaware County Auditor maps, list of the neighboring parcel owners that are affected by this application, and then an elevation and plan view drawing. So that's Exhibit A, 9 pages. Exhibit B is a 6-page document, which is the staff report that was prepared for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then Exhibit C is a 7-page document, which consists of the public hearing notice that was posted and was served upon the affected landowners, as well as a list of those affected landowners and proof of mailing. That is Exhibit C, 7-page document. So with that, I would move to admit Exhibits A, B, and C into the record.
Accept. Thank you. All right, we're going to begin with the staff report. Alex.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So the applicant has applied for a conditional use for a continuance of the the front of their building is in front of the front setback. So they are looking to put a roof over their already paved patio on the front to make it more of a porch. Because the current building doesn't comply with the setbacks as it is, they need a continuance, which requires conditional use to proceed about doing that. So that is more or less the request that they are putting in. In my staff report, I noted that there is not any inconsistencies with the neighborhood as far as architecture or as far as this type of style of porch patio goes. Their two neighbors on their west side have it similar. And then if you look around through blocks, north, south, east, and west, there's also similar type of patios. So we would recommend for approval.
Great, thank you. All right, does the applicant wish to say anything? Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Karen Davis and I'm the resident at 100 North Street.
My name's John Yost. I am Yost Lawrence, and we're the builder on this here.
So first of all, my apologies to the commission. When I appeared before you back in November, I did not realize how much I was going to need a front porch covering until after the significant weather we've had this winter. So when I contracted with Yost to build on my property, I did ask if they could go ahead and put on a covering. And I did not know that this was going to be needed, so my apologies for appearing once again. But as mentioned, the weather this winter really showed that I really need something covering up my front porch. There was significant ice and the current paver in front is an old big stone. It's a big piece of stone and it ices very easily. So what I'm asking for is just to have just a standard size, just big enough to cover up the stone that's currently there with 2 posts, and the siding and the roofing will match the style of the house.
Thank you. All right, does anybody from the public that was sworn in wish to speak regarding this application? All right, any questions from the commission? Comments? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. This is also number 4 on the agenda. The public hearing has closed. Next item on the agenda, conditional use 100 North Street. This is going to sound like repeat information to everyone. The applicant is requesting a conditional use for the continuance of a non-conforming use. This conditional use would allow for the applicant to install a covered structure on the front of their home. Any commission discussion? Any comments?
It's great.
All right, good deal. I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Miller. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Soderman?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mrs. Stark?
Yes.
6 yeas, motion approved.
Thank you for coming in. All right, number 5, home occupation, 125 Harrison Street, Little Critters Pet Sitters LLC. The applicant is requesting approval of a home occupation for an in-home pet sitting and care business. Also, there's a couple extra chairs here if anybody would like to sit and grab the chairs. Right, is the applicant here? Hello.
Hi.
Would you like to come up, introduce yourself, and just tell us what you're proposing? Looks like you have a lot of positive support.
Nervous though.
Oh, don't be nervous.
We don't fight.
Okay, well, for the record, my name is Jen Fashing and I reside at 125 Harrison Street in Sunbury, Ohio. I'm here regarding the certificate of use application I recently submitted for my home-based business, Little Critters Pet Sitters LLC, located at 125 Harrison Street. I just wanted to thank you guys for your time and consideration already given to my supporting materials. I know you've received quite a bit of information from me, and that was intentional. I wanted to be thorough, transparent, and respectful of this process. Sunbury isn't just where I operate my business, it's home also. I grew up here and attended Big Walnut schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. I graduated in 2009. In 2002, my dad purchased a home at 125 Harrison Street, and today I'm raising my 11-year-old daughter there. She attends Big Walnut and has since kindergarten, so our roots in this community run pretty deeply. I'm a single mom and I've worked very hard to build a life and livelihood that allows me to support my daughter while remaining actively involved in our community. Professionally, I'm a registered veterinary technician and also certified professional pet sitter. So animal care isn't a side hobby for me. It's my education, career, and my responsibility that I take seriously, especially when it comes to safety, cleanliness, noise management, and being a respectful neighbor. Outside of my business, I'm deeply involved in nonprofit and community work. I serve as a board member, foster home, and fundraising coordinator for the Australian Cattle Dog Rescue Association. And I'm also a board member and fundraising coordinator for Loud and Proud Boosters at my daughter's local cheerleading gym, United by SHC. Giving back to the community has always been important to me. Little Critters Pet Sitters is intentionally small, personalized, and family style. I don't aim to be large or high volume. I choose to stay hands-on so I can maintain close supervision, structure, and a calm environment. For my clients, these animals aren't just pets, they're family. And the pets in my care are considered family to my daughter and me as well. Just as importantly, my business does not change the residential character of or feel of my neighborhood. This was specifically noted in several of the letters of support included with my application. There's no exterior signage, no increased traffic beyond what would be typical of a residential home, and no structural changes to the property. My home looks and functions just like any other house on the street. To ensure compliance, I included a home occupation cross-reference in supporting materials that directly outlines how my business aligns with the city's home occupation requirements. My intention throughout this process has been to clearly demonstrate that Little Critters Pet Sitters operates within the rules and spirit of those regulations while remaining compatible with its residential surroundings. Because of that, I'm very mindful of routine, supervision, and noise control. I limit the number of animals that are in my care and prioritize operating in a way that is respectful of the neighborhood while still providing high quality professional care. As Sunbury continues to grow rapidly, I've seen a clear and increasing need for services like mine. More families are moving into the area, many of them with pets who truly are a part of the family in their household. There have been numerous occasions where I've had to turn clients away simply because I was already fully booked. That demand reinforces my commitment to staying small, controlled, and compliant while still meeting a real community need for in-home pet care. With that said, I do want to briefly address how we arrived here today. In 2022, one neighboring household approached me with concerns that I was operating an illegal kennel, primarily related to barking. At that time, I had reached out to the city's zoning officer, Mr. Steve Piles, to ask what steps I needed to take to ensure compliance. And while I don't recall exact details of that conversation, I do remember being told I would be sent information that I did not receive. After that, I spoke directly with the neighbors and they indicated their concerns were resolved. With no further communication from zoning and no ongoing issues raised, I continued on and did not follow up further at that time. In November of 2025, those same neighbors contacted me again, stating that the dogs were getting on their nerves and that they intended to take action after the first of the year. At that point, I made the decision to be proactive rather than reactive. So I reached out to the current zoning officer, Alex, because my goal has never been to avoid rules or cause disruption. My goal is and always has been to operate responsibly, legally, and in compliance with the city. It's important to note that these concerns have come from one household. I have spoken with surrounding neighbors, many of whom also own dogs, and I've included 7 letters of support from them as part of my application. I've also included letters from local clients and business owners. Marla Evans of Marla Evans Agency, Wendy Weiler of Ace Hardware, and professional organizations including Bubbles and Bows, Wolfman's Canines, Australian Cattle Dog Rescue Association, and Speak for the Unspoken, who can speak to my professionalism, standards of care, and character. So I'm not here tonight asking for special treatment. I'm here asking for the opportunity to continue operating the business I built responsibly, transparently, and in compliance with the city requirements in the community I grew up in and now raise my child in. Thank you again for your time and consideration. I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. You may have questions for Alex. Do you have a staff report? Sorry, I skipped over that first.
Oh, you're fine.
Good.
So touching on the same points here, the applicant did provide an extensive submittal that addressed each of the home occupation zoning code provisions, identified all the potential impacts, and outlined mitigation measures for all of those impacts that they might potentially have. Of the 9 of our home occupation zoning ordinances listed, there were 2 that gave me some pause. The first being that the home occupation code says that it shall be carried solely within the confines of the residential structure, which wouldn't 100% be possible with this type of use. And then the other would be that no activity shall be conducted to permit or create a nuisance to neighboring properties. As the applicant said, this definitely noise and odor is something that the neighbors could notice. As far as I could find, there were no reported complaints regarding this address as far back as I could look in our systems. So there's nothing, I don't have too much of a worry there, especially with the applicant's mitigation measures that they provided in their report. So with that, that is all I have for the staff report.
Great, well, thank you. All right, are there any questions from the commission? Any comments? Any comments?
I just wanted to say that you clearly came prepared and I really appreciate all the homework that you put in. And I think for us, when we see a nice full packet and, you know, when we get things across our desk, we already come up with a whole bunch of questions. Man, these are things that are just top of mind. And as I read through things, I was just able to check off. You're addressing all those ideas that come to mind, and then being here, you know, even more. So I guess my statement is thank you for
Thank you.
you know, just doing a really good job, doing good homework, and it really seems that you're doing things really above board. And I mean, you're a certified professional pet sitter even, and all of those letters or recommendations really have a lot of weight, right? So it's not really a question, it's just a thank you. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
I do have a question on the complaint that you received. Do you feel that you've addressed the concerns of the complaint with this packet, or have you made any changes to address the complaint?
I have spoke with this particular neighbor and let them know that if anything was bothering them, they should bring it up to me instead of just kind of letting it stew and fester. However, I also feel like when they are getting upset, they're getting upset because of everything, all of the other dogs in the neighborhood, including mine as well. But they like their peace and quiet, which isn't really possible to have that kind of peace and quiet that they're looking for in a neighborhood, because there's always noise, and we have the elementary school across the street, and it's not a noisy neighborhood, but it's not.
Okay.
You just hear birds chirping. So I've let them know that they can reach out anytime. After that, I haven't heard anything again.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Questions?
I have a question.
You want
I have a question maybe for staff. As far as home occupation, does this stay with the home or does this stay with the owner? So if the owner moves, would a new owner be able to continue that?
Unless it was the same exact business, I don't believe they would.
Yeah, it would not. It doesn't run with the land, it doesn't stay with the property.
Okay,
This is for her, yep.
thank you.
You gave us quite a bit of information, and I'll echo what Shannon said. I can tell you put a lot of effort into this, so I'll compliment you on being prepared. That's helpful for us to be able to make a decision when it comes to something like this, which I think, based on what Alex said to me, we don't have a lot of home occupation requests. So evaluating them can be challenging when we don't have a lot of detail. So with that, couple questions. I did look at your website. I thought there was some interesting things there, and I wanted to say, you have a lot of your own pets in addition to the pets you use for business?
I do, yes.
You have some dogs?
I do.
How many dogs?
I have 6 dogs.
Okay. 6 dogs of your own. And then I see throughout here that you're requesting to be permitted to house an additional 10? So
Up to.
Up to 10. And I noticed you focused only on dogs, even though your goal is to be able to take care of dogs, cats, fish, birds. I saw some chickens and ducks. What am I missing?
Dogs, cats, fish, birds, lizards, snakes.
Lizards, reptiles?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the things. Those typically don't come to my house. It's much easier to go to somebody else's house. to
So
take
you're
care of
visiting.
things.
Okay, that's an important thing to clarify. And I want to make sure I didn't get that clarification that not all of these are inside your residence,
Correct,
except the dogs.
correct.
Okay.
Well, I have my own aquariums, a
Okay.
snake, and a gecko, and a tortoise.
Okay. Where do these dogs hang out?
In the house.
Like the whole house, upstairs, downstairs?
My personal dogs,
All the dogs. If you have a dog in your house, where would I find them if I walked in the front door?
you can find them all over.
Okay,
If
so
my
you use
dog-
the entire house.
For my dogs, they have the majority of the house. For the pet sitting dogs, they have mainly 2 rooms, so it'd be like the kitchen and the dining room
Okay.
area.
This brings me to the first point about what the ordinance states. And Alex, you didn't call it out, but the area regarding floor area limitation. It stipulates that you're only permitted to use 20% of the dwelling unit floor space.
The applicant placed in their report that they would only use the permitted amount of space. So I didn't think it would be relevant to
Okay,
reference.
so I looked at the GIS for your house and the square footage of your house, and that's the 20% would come to about 283 square feet, which is a 17 by 17 box. You're saying you're going to use the whole house, so you're not meeting the qualification of the floor limit. Is that accurate?
I apologize. I don't use the whole house for the pet sitting dogs. I guess it's a little bit confusing. So the majority of the house, my dogs, my personal dogs have roam of the house. And then the pet sitting dogs, I've got baby gates, separating rooms. So they would just have 2 rooms, really. They would stay in, so the kitchen is like on the back half of the house, and then it is attached to the yard. And so that's where they hang out.
Okay. Sounds like you're using a little bit more than the permissible square footage. I don't know what that number actually is, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that that's another one of the 9 criteria that doesn't appear to be being met.
I can triple check it also.
I'm not in favor of putting animals in cages or baby gates. I'm just more, some of this is for you and some of this is for zoning, because
It makes sense.
is conscious of trying to improve the process here. And I want to use this as an example of something that may need to be reevaluated when it comes, because I think a lot of this is based on people having tax preparation businesses in their home. People that have an office space, 20% makes sense for that.
Yeah.
Not for a 16 dogs, 27 cats roaming in a house. That's not we're not talking apples and apples when we're talking about a home occupation. So it's quite a bit different. Fair statement? Okay. Pardon me for a second. I had some other notes. You give me a lot of material to go through.
No problem.
Anybody else can jump in if you feel like.
Any comments?
Yeah, I would just say, so do we, from the staff, it sounds like we don't have a lot of other micro businesses requesting this sort of thing in town.
That is correct. Since I've been here in January 2023, this will be the first home occupation that has come to Planning and Zoning Commission.
So if we do move, to make a decision when our, decision's made, can we put some stipulations around that decision?
Well, I guess, what do you mean by stipulations?
So just from a number of pets that are able to be in the household at a single time, a limitation on growth beyond certain areas might, I have a concern on additional micro businesses in the same area.
Like setting precedent.
Sure. Yeah, really, those types of stipulations that could be put on are really more that would be in line with a variance procedure. So to the extent there's concerns with the application not meeting what the code says, really, I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission is analyzing it from that standpoint.
Right.
Thank you.
And if there's issues there, then perhaps a variance could be obtain through BZA that could deal with some of those issues, and they would be more in line with what the code allows to put those types of stipulations on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that this does not go before city council, a home occupation. This is the end of the road. So if we approve it, it's approved. I think pending, is there an inspection? There's a certificate of.
Yeah, so the certificate of use would be the other aspect that needs to be approved, which is just the city's verification of number of employees, where they're using. So similar to any business, if they were to take a spot on the square, they'd fill out the same sheet, operating hours, all that.
That's the basis for denying something like that. Are there any criteria?
Not that I know of, no.
Yes, this is a pretty streamlined process for approval, it sounds like, or getting a certificate of use.
So for certificate of use, they would also need to go to, and I don't know how this works with home occupations, so I'll have to do more research on your end. If it was a business going into the square, they would need approvals from the county and the fire department in terms of fire exits and organization. But I don't know in this same instance if that's what it was. So pending this approval, I would be going to those bodies and seeing what kind of procedures or inspections the county and the fire department would need to do for a business such as this.
Yeah, you're talking specifically about things on the square. You brought up a good point. A fire inspection for a home that has 16 animals. There's no requirement, no provisions that we need to be concerned about, ensuring that, something doesn't go terribly wrong, to 16 people or 10 people, losing their pets because we didn't enforce any type of fire code beyond what's required of a resident of a home, which is nothing, frankly. I'll move on. Just food for thought, I guess. It seems like there's not a lot of material precedent, at least locally, on how to handle these things. And I think this is a great case because she brought us a lot of material. And, I think a lot of other people would have brought a whole lot less. I did have one additional question. So it seems like a lot of your certifications and some of you work with Pet Sitters International to get, I think, some of the criteria. Does Pet Sitters International establish a guideline or a limit for what is appropriate for the number of dogs? Did they give you 10 or did you come up with 10?
I came up with 10. I don't believe that they have anything that says there's an appropriate number of dogs, just because this kind of business varies so much from people who want to be more mainstream to me who wants to be a bit smaller.
Yeah. Maybe this is my last. I went through all of the testimonials, I guess, that you got from neighbors, and I looked to see where they lived relative to your home, and I could see most of them are directly adjacent. I noticed there was not a letter of 133 Harrison, and then any of the homes across the street, across Harrison Street. Was there any reason why we do not have testimonials from those 5 homeowners?
The 133 would be the one that I had received a personal complaint
Directly
with.
beside you.
Yes.
Okay.
And then across the street, 2 of them are not here during the winter. The other one I don't really talk to, but I would be more than willing to ask them for a letter. And then going to the house across the street from the old church. I'm sorry, I don't know the address, but they have a letter. I just had not received it yet.
Okay. I think those would be great if you were to take the steps to talk to them. I think that would maybe put it over the top for me. That every neighbor surrounding line of sight from your home has no issue. I say that because, and I consulted Alex about this type of thing doesn't require a public hearing. So there's no notification of neighbors that you're coming before us asking for this permission. And I think that's a flaw in the system, that my neighbor could come in here and say, I want to do something in my house, and I have no way of knowing if they're in the meeting, when things are scheduled. I think, especially with something, this is one of the ones where, yeah, dogs barking is what we're really talking about, right? That's the nuisance. Everything else is just dogs tearing up the inside of your house, in my opinion. So that's your business, your furniture. They're now chew toys, but I'm reluctant to just agree to this without hearing from the neighbor that complained, saying, I no longer have an issue, and any of the adjacent neighbors. I think we need to hear more, other than just the neighbors who were willing to come forward to this point. I think we need everybody needs their opportunity. And if it can't be a public hearing, then we have to raise the bar for what is required to give Ms. Fashing approval.
Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on delaying this a month? Trying to get those approvals from your neighbors? Any concerns with that?
I don't think so. I don't know that you'll get a positive review from the one neighbor in particular. But the other ones should be no problem.
What is the neighbor gonna say that had the issue?
That they.
This is your
can't-
opinion. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't ask you that, but I'm just curious.
That's okay. That they can't enjoy their yard, that the dogs are constantly barking.
And how do you respond to that complaint? Is that a reasonable request for her to say, hey, this is not cool. I have a home?
I understand where they're coming from, yes, but I also don't think that so the last time that they had sent me a message and said that they were upset, dogs were barking, they just got home from vacation. I had just gotten home at the same time from a cheer competition. I was letting the dogs out. Their dogs, they bark. It's not anything longer than 5-10 minutes. They're excited to be getting outside and then getting dinner. And maybe about 20 minutes after that, he texted me again and said, dog's still barking. I was inside my house. There were no dogs barking. I looked on my cameras outside because they have cameras all over. I didn't hear any dogs barking. So I don't know what they're thinking. I have a feeling that they are blaming all of the dogs in the neighborhood on me. And I don't know if I should say this, but I know that they are also the type of people, they have property out in the middle of nowhere and they get upset about their neighbors out there who like to target practice a few times a week. So I think that they're unreasonable. And otherwise I would 100% understand where they were coming from. But even asking all the other neighbors surrounding my entire block and my property, I thought it spoke numbers. Just they all had this basically the same thing to say. They wouldn't know I had a business. One of them had no idea until I talked to her recently, and I have been doing this for over 4 years. The only complaint I had about dogs barking was 2 of them complaining about a different neighbor and their dog. Because I don't just let it go uncontrolled.
I appreciate your feedback.
No problem.
I think if we're gonna table this for next month, I think we need to be very specific what we're asking. Do you have any recommendation?
I think there's 6 total homes that are, from my perspective, that would be in question. 134 North Street, 133 Harrison, 106, 122, 136, 140 Harrison.
You feel like it's reasonable that it should came back with 2?
I think everybody has a right to speak. That's what I'm saying. That's the purpose of a public hearing. Everybody gets a notice saying, hey.
Without it being a public hearing, there's nothing that prevents the commission to invite the homeowners.
I'd like to ask the staff to reach out to the homeowners, Mr. Stotterman said, the ones that have not submitted, and just let them know that it's gonna be heard at the next meeting. Either submit written testimony or please show up in person.
That would satisfy me perfectly. Thank you. You can do that. Sounds good.
And even then, just to be clear, I mean, if we've got 1 that says no, I mean, and we've got 10 that say, hey, this is a great business and well ran and all that, I mean, we need to take that into consideration.
Right. But they may say no and have a good reason.
Of course.
That's all I want to hear is what is the reason? Are they just, what she said, they don't like noise?
Right.
You know, we all have to deal with dogs barking, but I think they need to be given the opportunity, just like you would have been given the opportunity to bring this to us, for them to say, hey, here's my 2 cents. So
I agree. Yeah.
And on final note, let's find a way to improve the process so that this takes place compulsory to the process.
Right.
One more clarifying question, more on the nuisance piece. If this were to be approved, it doesn't necessarily approve to allow for the nuisance, correct?
No.
So that would still be able to be governed and maintained. Okay, thank you.
Right, by noise ordinances or, pets left outside for too long. Right. All right, with that stipulation, we're gonna make a motion to table. Ms. Fashing, thank you so much for all the great information.
Thank
It'd be
you.
awesome. We'll see you back here next month.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is final plat, Kintner Crossing Commercial. The applicant is requesting for the approval of the final plat for the Kintner Crossing Commercial Subdivision, which includes 5 commercial lots and the realignment of Cheshire Road. Do we have the applicant here? All right, staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. So the final plat for the Kintner Crossing Commercial is consistent with the preliminary plat that came in front of this board a few months ago. As part of this, since they came here for the preliminary, the Bell Stores has been approved on the corner of Cheshire, and it's labeled East-West Road here, but that is not going to be the name of that road. So that has been approved. They got a variance for that approval and then the conditional use approval for that as well. Staff didn't see any inconsistencies as far as the road alignment and the lots went, and it has stayed 5 lots. So everything is consistent with the preliminary plat, and with that, the staff would recommend this for approval.
All right, any discussion, comments, questions? Fairly straightforward. Can we get a motion?
I will move to approve the final plat.
Got a motion by Mrs. Miller,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Palma. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Soderman,
Yes.
Mrs. Stark,
Yes.
6 yeas, motion approved.
All right, next item on the agenda is the visitor section of the meeting. And each visitor will have 3 minutes to speak with the commission. We're not expected dialogue with the commission. Normally our zoning meetings have about 3 or 4 people here, so it's a little bit different. Glad that we have such a show up for tonight. Very excited to hear your feedback on how we can improve. With that said, are there any visitors that would like to speak with the Planning and Zoning Commission? Come on up, sir. If you wouldn't mind, just so we can circle back, if you have any comments, questions, concerns that we can address, state your name and address, please, and we'll start a timer here at 3 minutes.
Very good. Well, thank you all. This is my first meeting, so be patient with me. My name is Larry Tode. That's Thode. I'm on Vans Valley Road, right outside Bohemian. I think that the facts around the data center and the technology center will be the same March 23rd as they are today in February. And I certainly hope that this group gives this issue the attention that it deserves. You're looking at putting some high technology, a lot of diesel fuel and a lot of other stuff very close to schools, right by the big Walnut Middle School and right by an elementary school. You got Miller Farms right up the road, 380 homes that are being built as we speak. People are moving their families into that space and have no idea what's going to be up the road. There's also a gas pipeline that runs right through there. Marathon has it. And I know that you're saying, well, what's the risk? Have we studied the impact of 3 years of construction for a $450,000 site on ground movement? Vibration to the ground is what puts pressure on pipelines. Have we thought about what happens if there's a fire and that pipeline is under pressure? We're putting a lot of school kids and a lot of homes at risk. So I think you need to think about that. But really, I think this is going to boil down to something else. I'm an old guy. I got 6 grandkids, lots of kids. I've worked at GE, Sears, and JP Morgan Chase. I'm on the tail end. But I got to tell you, this is going to boil down to you putting people over the dollar. It's going to boil down to you keeping your moral compass when your ego and a possibility of power could tempt you. And I got to tell you, when you get my age, you don't think about the things that helped your ego or your wallet. And your kids are going to be proud of you for doing the things that are right for people, neighborhoods, and other folks. Thank you. I think we're going to have lots of conversations. I don't know how long I can come up these 3 flights of stairs, but I'll do my best. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Hello.
Ready to start? Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, fellow Sunbury residents. My name is Samantha. I've called Sunbury home for 3.5 years. We moved out for our land and our dream home, our dream property to raise our 4 boys. We understand the meeting tonight isn't specifically geared towards the industrial rezoning and the data center build. But as a community, we are looking that this information pertains to the whole industrial development of the east side of Sunbury from 37 to the southeast side of Vans Valley, including the proposed data center. You all have many meetings coming up pertaining to this development, and the sooner you're well informed of the community's positions and concerns, the better. Tonight, I stand before you as a concerned resident to introduce the serious negative effects and impacts of the proposed Amazon data center and associated industrial complex. Impacts that threaten our community's water, our power, our health, our economy, quality of life, and infrastructure. As many residents will share tonight, these facilities demand millions of gallons of water daily, risking shortages and contamination like in other communities that are already facing miscarriage, increases, and rare cancers tied to aquifer strain. They consume electricity equivalent to tens of thousands of homes, straining the PJM grid and driving up bills, as seen in Northern Virginia's blackouts and Ohio's projected increase in monthly bills. Constant cooling hums and diesel generator emissions create nonstop noise and air pollution, disrupting sleep and health. They deliver few permanent jobs, often under 50, while claiming billions in tax abatements that drain local revenue. Property values may fluctuate, but quality of life suffers from industrial blight, noise, and changed character that deters families. Environmentally, they boost carbon emissions and health risks, with national models predicting thousands of premature deaths from pollutants. Construction brings heavy truck traffic that overwhelms rural roads, which spike crashes. I have a whole packet of research that I'll give to you guys today to support what is being shared. And I ask that they be entered into the official record for this, and every future meeting, hearing, annexation, rezoning, or site plan approval related to this industrial or data center development in Sunbury. Before we proceed, I ask who in here is favor of the city council and zoning committee to seriously consider these concerns and stop this development.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and for protecting Sunbury.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Brendan Schreiner with my wife Samantha. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about just some of the negative health effects this potentially bring. Just so you know, spent the last 15 years of my life in practice with my wife, Dr. Samantha, dealing with some chronic disease reversal, over 1,000 hours in anatomy and physiology, so I understand the body pretty well. Just in case you're wondering, I guess the credential behind speaking on health. I moved my family here 3 years ago. I've got 4 boys. I grew up in the country hunting and fishing. It was God family and just a great time. And so we moved away from the concrete jungle to get here for that very purpose. And it's been a blessing. The people here, the foundations that were built on, we just love it here. Data centers, industrial complexes drive massive carbon emissions through their enormous energy use, often powered by fossil fuels. Studies estimate the U.S. Data centers and industrial complexes contribute to 44 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually by 2030, equivalent to adding millions of cars to the roads, and their air pollutants from backup generators and power plants may cause up to 1,300 premature deaths yearly nationwide, with a public health burden exceeding $20 billion. We're already in a public health, chronic health burden. We don't need any more money spent on things that can be prevented. In Ohio, where Amazon operates dozens of facilities near New Albany and Columbus, surging demands keeps fossil plants online longer, worsening climate change and local air quality with pollutants like nitrogen oxides and particulates linked to asthma, heart disease, and respiratory issues. My kids play outside. They love playing outside. I don't want to have them running around in faulty air and risk of chronic disease. Now, I have healthy kids. My kids have never had an ear infection. My kids have never really been sick, but that's not the majority of the population. Water impacts compound these dangers. Facilities consume millions of gallons daily for cooling, straining aquifers, and potentially concerning contaminants. In Marl County, Oregon, Amazon data centers and industrial complexes have been linked to worsening nitrate pollution from groundwater extraction amid farm runoff. 68 to 70 wells tested exceeding safe levels. Residents reported at least 25 miscarriages in the first 30 homes they surveyed. Multiple kidney failures, rare cancers like throat cancer, and non-smokers. Officials called it a public health emergency, with one former commissioner noting heartbreaking stories of loved ones and illnesses. Amazon denies direct causation, but the precedent raises alarms. Here in Central Ohio, similar concerns are mounting. Reports highlights risk from diesel fuel cell emissions near Hilliard facilities, 1.5 million pounds of carbon dioxide daily from one site, and broader pollution fears. Residents in nearby areas voice worries about breathing dirtier air, higher asthma rates, and long-term health. Sunbury families and farms and environment deserve protection. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Alyssa, what monitors you turned on?
There's ballots in there.
Would anybody else like to speak with the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Good evening. My name is Annette McMurray, 3690 Worthington Road. I'm here to read a statement on behalf of a fellow resident who could not be here tonight. But personally, I've lived in this community for 40 years. I specifically want to speak to the enormous electricity demand and the resulting strain on our grid, which could lead to higher bills and reliability risk for us all. I actually have a friend who lives in New Albany, and they are already experiencing outages near their home. Hyperscale data centers like Amazon and industrial complexes consume massive power, often equivalent to tens of thousands of homes. A typical large AI-focused facility uses as much electricity annually as 100,000 average U.S. households, according to the International Energy Agency. In concentrated areas, this overwhelms local grids. Northern Virginia, the world's largest data hub, shows the real impact. Data centers and industrial complexes there consumed about 26% of the state's electricity in 2023, per the Electric Power Research Institute, driving up demand so fast that officials warn of potential rolling blackouts and growth if growth continues unchecked. In 2024, a grid fault caused 60 data centers to disconnect abruptly, forcing emergency measures to avoid cascading outages. Residents face higher rates. Wholesale costs near data centers rose up to 267% in some areas over the last 5 years, according to Bloomberg analysis. And every day, people like a blind man in nearby Baltimore report bills rising sharply, wondering about their breaking point. Closer to home, the PJM grid, which serves us, saw data centers and industrial complexes contribute to $9.3 billion price increase in 25-26 capacity market per independent monitors. This translates to expected residential hikes of about 16 per month in Ohio. Central Ohio studies highlight surging demands in facilities near New Albany and Columbus, Amazon hubs, straining infrastructure. AEP Ohio paused new large connections due to capacity limits. And reports show residential pricing rising 13% in 2025 from the boom. Projects have been canceled over power shortages, showing the grid can't keep up without costly upgrades, and ratepayers often foot that bill. Sunbury and Delaware County are already growing. Adding a power-hungry facility risks higher utility rates for families, businesses, and farms. Plus, blackouts threats during peak periods. We need an independent grid impact study, proof of sufficient capacity, and requirements for developers to cover upgrades or self-generate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Good ones. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and fellow Sunbury neighbors. My name is Candy May, and I live at 2200 County Road 605. And I want to just say that I have 3 amazing kids, and we moved out here to the country to enjoy the outside, like so many people here have. And there's some major concerns with this Amazon data center and industrial complex coming up. These facilities run on 24/7 cooling fans that produce a persistent low hum, often described as an airplane idling, freight train, or a giant leaf blower that never stops. I have clients in Johnstown that are seeing this constantly, and it drives them absolutely crazy. These well exceed city ordinances of noise control. In Northern Virginia Data Center Alley, neighbors have filed dozens of complaints about an eerie hum keeping them awake, causing headaches, stress, and health problems, saying it drives people indoors and ruins their outdoor life. So from my experience and everybody here, I think we all want to enjoy the outside, and that's going to be drastically changed if these data centers go in. The backup diesel generators add worse problems. They emit harmful pollutants, carbon monoxide, and diesel exhaust linked to cancer and respiratory problems. During testing, maintenance, and outages in Ohio, Hilliard residents near an Amazon facility fought permits for 158 diesel generators, citing air pollution risks and unclean run times. In Virginia, thousands face exposure from thousands of generators. One grid even triggered mass startups, with residents smelling diesel fumes and hearing planes landing constantly over 24 hours. In Central Ohio, including areas in New Albany, reports highlighted similar persistent humming and vibrations from cooling and generators disturbing sleep and health. Sunbury is a peaceful, family-oriented country. We're great people. And I would hope that you guys would take into consideration not allowing these data centers to come and take over the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and fellow Sunbury residents. My name is Alexa Provost, and I've lived in the Sunbury community for 14 years. Tonight, I want to highlight one of the many key concerns with the proposed Amazon data center and industrial complex: limited economic benefit to our community, despite promises of growth. We've seen time and time again that these facilities create far fewer permanent jobs than claimed, often fewer than 150, with many employing only 25 to 50 workers for operations after construction ends. They receive massive tax breaks that drain public funds and shift costs to our residents. Amazon and similar projects have shown us this pattern in our neighboring communities. For example, in Hilliard, Amazon saved $195 million in tax abatements, but created jobs so scarce that each permanent job cost over $100 million in lost revenue. New Albany's Meta facility gave up $189.6 million in taxes, about $1.9 million per job, with promised growth failing to reach the community, leaving residents burdened by infrastructure strains. We've seen these tax breaks strip funds from schools, roads, and services, forcing families to bear the burden. The promised prosperity remains out of reach while our community pay the price. Central Ohio communities like ours deserve development that brings real, sustainable jobs and revenue, not short-term hype with long-term giveaways. We deserve transparency. We require independent economic impact studies, tie any approvals to guaranteed local hiring and community benefits, and consider denying incentives that don't deliver fair returns. As previously mentioned, I've lived in Sunbury for 14 years. My husband and I were encouraged to look for a home in Sunbury shortly after my brother and his wife purchased their first home here. In that time, our two families have made significant economic investments to our community. We each more than tripled our property values by making significant improvement to our homes. Recently invested in a home for our parents to join us living here in this community that we've grown to love, and turned a community eyesore in the center of town, formerly in the form of a dilapidated self-service car wash, into 3 profitable business spaces. Most importantly, we've added 7 vibrant, thriving community members, currently ages 3 to 15, who deserve all the benefits of living in Sunbury that you are in the position to provide them. While understanding that development and change is inevitable and necessary, we ask that you change the narrative around what development means in our community. Make decisions that provide our children with a community that they can be proud of and our residents can thrive in. Stop the toxic cycle of making deals that provide these facilities with huge tax breaks that hurt the very people that make our community great. Thank you for your time. evening. My name is Carrie Meeks and I've lived in this community for 11 years. Tonight, I want to speak specifically about a major concern that we have with the proposed data center and associated industrial complex, the massive water consumption and the real risk it poses to our community's water supply. Data centers and industrial complexes like this one require enormous amounts of water for cooling their servers, often evaporative cooling that turns millions of gallons of water into steam daily. Industry reports and studies show that a large hyperscale facility can consume up to 5 million gallons per day, equivalent to the daily water use of a town of 10,000 to 50,000 people. Even mid-sized ones use hundreds of thousands to over 1 million gallons daily. In water-stressed areas, this has caused serious problems. In the Dalles, Oregon, Google's data centers used over 355 million gallons in 1 year, about a quarter of the entire city's water supply, leading to higher demands and concerns over availability for residents. In the Phoenix area, including Mesa, data centers have drawn millions of gallons amid ongoing drought, with residents and officials questioning why the tech giants get priority over homes and farms. In eastern Oregon farmlands, Amazon data centers and industrial complexes have worsening existing water pollution issues by pulling tens of millions of gallons from aquifers each year. This has been linked to elevated nitrate levels in the wells, health concerns like miscarriages and rare cancers in nearby communities, and fears that the precedent, like in Flint, Michigan, where industrial demands contaminated and strained local water supply. Even in Ohio, where Amazon operates dozens of facilities near New Albany and Columbus, reports highlight surging water demand straining regional supplies. The Central Ohio Regional Water Study has flagged rising wastewater and water needs from data centers, raising questions about future shortages or rate hikes for residents. Sunbury and Delaware County already face growth pressures on our water resources. Adding a facility that could demand hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of gallons daily risks depleting aquifers, increasing utility costs, or forcing restrictions on families and farms during our dry periods. We deserve an independent assessment of projected water use, impacts on our local supply, and alternatives like reclaimed water or zero water cooling. I urge the council to demand transparency and require a full water impact study and consider denying or delaying approval until these risks are fully addressed. Our water is not unlimited. It's our most precious resource. Thank you for your time and for protecting Sunbury.
Hi, my name is Aristotle Huttress. I've lived in Sunbury for 16 years. I'm gonna do most of this off the cuff. Most of this came to me just in the meeting previous. I'd like to thank council members, planning and zoning, thank you. And I wish you wouldn't have left, but Little Critters, I wanted to thank her. Because if irony doesn't hit me in the face, Mr. Stadman, I believe you asked Little Critters, pet sitters, what would the neighbors say? Yeah. I think that you said then, in talking about getting something approved seems pretty streamlined. That scares me. I think that you asked for letters from the neighbors who didn't submit. Anybody neighbor of maybe going to be this Amazon plant? We're here. These are our letters. Mayor, I'd like to echo what you said. Staff, if you could please reach out to all the neighbors that this is going to affect and make sure they're here for the next public hearing and get letters from them. We've heard a lot of facts. A lot of nasty stuff. Things that I don't like is when you look at the maps, click on one, it does say Amazon data center. Then the one neighboring that I think is in question, I looked them up, says Sunbury 37 LLC. Is that anybody here? Ohio Real Estate Acquisitions LLC. Are you here? Doesn't seem right. And we're the neighbors. So we heard a lot about a carbon footprint, a lot about water strain and pollution, a lot about electricity strain, price hikes. A lot about 150 employees, possibly, hopefully on the good end. I think that we just put in 150 new apartments up by Polaris. So there's the jobs, and they're still coming. I believe all of this just stands to say, everything you asked for from Little Critters, we showed up today about the Amazon thing. So that's it. Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you for the chance to speak tonight. My name is Patty Shipley, and I own Leaves for Wildlife, a native plant nursery that's 3.5 miles from the proposed data center. My primary reasons for coming tonight is to talk about nature, to speak up for nature. I've also been a holistic healthcare practitioner for 25 years, and I could speak to both, but I am limited in time. So I want to say that nighttime ecology does matter. Many types of insects, including some pollinators, are biologically adapted to darkness at night. Artificial lights disrupt their navigation, their mating, and their feeding. And why should we care about insects? Well, aside from the fact that pollinators are insects that provide about 1 in every 3 bites of food that we eat, and also chocolate. And insects are important decomposers that build our soil, which is where our food grows. Aside from that, since I'm going to focus on nature, nearly every wildlife species in nature relies directly on either native plants or the insects that feed on native plants. And yes, they can only feed on native plants, most of them. An example I like to use, because everybody likes birds, is that it takes 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars to feed a nest of baby chickadees. And that's a very small bird. Large birds do require more insects. Something else important to know is that moths contribute the most insect biomass to the food web, by far. Because we all know that moths will beat against a light all night, it really does matter that some moths, all moths, it's going to disrupt their eating and their mating. But the 8 species of silk moths that are native to Ohio, including the Luna moth and the Polyphemus moth, which many of us used to see a lot more often when we were younger, I rarely see them now. But if when they come out of a cocoon, they don't have any mouth parts. They have a very finite amount of energy that they can expend, and their whole goal needs to be to reproduce. They have about 5 to 7 days of life to do that as a winged creature. So if they spend an entire night beating against a light, there's very little chance that they're going to be able to take the 1 to 3 days that it takes to find a mate and reproduce and ensure the next generation. So beyond light, the noise from data centers, operations like large cooling systems, backup generators, and constant hum of machinery has been linked to behavioral disruptions in wildlife. It masks their communication sounds, it interferes with their foraging patterns, and it raises their stress levels. Fresh air, their air quality impacts their quality of life as well as ours. And the physical footprint of a massive facility will also fragment habitat and other landscapes at a scale that ecosystems cannot really easily adapt to. Darkness at night is not empty space. Please consider what kind of landscape we want to leave behind. Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kimberly Wilhelm. I'm a lifelong resident of Ohio, the state of Ohio, and I've been living in Delaware for the past 15 years. Our family moved from Canal Winchester. So if you've been down the 33 corridor, you'll see that the scenery and the cute little village of Canal Winchester has been decimated by big, ugly block buildings. It's not a place that you would want to put on your vacation tour. My main concern, other than what everybody else has said about, the radiation poisoning that is long-term, low-emitted radiation that disrupts animal behavior, reproductive cycles, causes animals to act erratical and change, which also goes through our children. So this low frequency that is going to be emitted constantly, we won't know what the effects are maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now. And our children might end up being over medicated because of this, or people with migraines over medicated because of this, and that we have the opportunity to stop it. I would love for you to consider an alternative of having something so nostalgic or so new and experimental all throughout, because Ohio is being attacked by all these data centers and freeways, that you would consider preserving that land for something for our youth to be able to enjoy. We have no activities, very few, for our young adults, young children that are safe and protected. So our future of our little villages need to start thinking of those younger families instead of the mighty dollar and all of this data center, which libraries used to be what that was. Second of all, because the data center that's going in our backyard here and across the state of Ohio, because one data center affects the water, the air quality, the light pollution, all of the things that we moved to Ohio for, then it should be a constitutional amendment for every Ohioan to say, do we want the Silicon Valley to be here? Because if you haven't been to the Silicon Valley, it's pretty desert. And it's just decimated. There's very little life other than through long adaptation. So once we put these things in there, you remember how they handled the Pakistan train wreck? That wasn't very good. I don't have the full confidence that the state of Ohio could handle radiation poisoning and all these other water loads that are happening. Our medical and our EMS and everything, God bless you. Think of what you're doing and think of a better future than this. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Toby Wolf. I've lived in the Sunbury area for 32 years, and I am opposed to the data center. I have some facts I've collected for you. Data centers give increasing control of our infrastructure, resources, and lives to corporations. Their massive energy use destabilizes our electricity grid, increasing the risk of fires and blackouts. States routinely give hundreds of millions in tax breaks to companies to build data centers, funds that could have gone to our schools and other local services. Data centers are set to raise the price of monthly electric bills thanks to deals between utility companies and big tech. U.S. consumers will pay billions of dollars to build the new power plants and infrastructure needed to serve big tech, as data center energy use is expected to triple by 2030. Data centers contribute to immense public health impacts by the dirty energy pollution they produce in order to maintain consistent power. These health effects include cancer and asthma. By 2030, air pollution from data centers alone could cause an additional 600,000 asthma cases annually in the U.S. Data centers threaten to reverse our climate progress. Google itself has reported a 48% increase in greenhouse gas emissions since 2019, which the company attributes to increased data center energy consumption and supply chain emissions. A single data center can use up to 5 million gallons of potable water each day, equivalent to the daily use of a 50,000 person town. Maricopa County, Arizona, a fast-growing data center hub with facilities owned by Meta, Microsoft, and Google, is facing drought conditions so extreme that the state has revoked construction permits for new homes due to lack of groundwater. Data centers need inordinate amounts of land for their footprint and the power lines to connect them to power sources. A planned data center complex in Buckeye, Arizona will be the size of 1,600 football fields. This land grab threatens to make already scarce housing more expensive and displacing farmland. Companies justify tax breaks for data centers with the promise of new jobs, but data centers create 100 times fewer jobs than other types of economic development. The average data center employs 5 to 30 full-time employees, and as these facilities expand and evolve, they will run themselves with minimal need for human workers. Big tech uses data centers to power the AI systems that they sell, including technologies that are increasingly used for policing and surveillance at our workplaces, schools, places of worship, and beyond. These are not data centers, they are hubs for artificial intelligence.
Once a decision is made to build a day center, it cannot be undone. There's no more land to be made. There are no more fields to be grown. And there will be nowhere for our descendants to go to experience God's creation, grow a garden, farm corn, or raise cattle, aside from within the AI goggles while eating a lab-grown hamburger. This is much larger than one data center in the middle of Sunbury, Ohio. It's the beginning of a chain of catastrophic decisions that must stop here if we are to save the very things we hold most precious and dear to humanity. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Catherine Parker. I am a resident on Sunbury Road. I am against the data centers. I grew up in New Albany, where now you can see we were promised country living, and now it is overrun with data centers, lifeless and trash panels, and in density high apartments, loud, overrun with traffic, and with no purpose to the public. My main concern now is that I'm 25 years old after working a 50-hour week, having to come and beg for my American dream. I am now practically priced out of even living in both towns in a normal home. If this goes through, where Intel and Facebook and other contractors come in, their employees will get discounts on their homes and their apartments that I will never be able to have. I will never be able to get a discount on my apartment for working for Amazon. I will have to pay full price that I can barely afford with the energy bill still standing in place. This does not even speak to my inability to afford a farm. As a 2018 Lithopolis Honey Queen, I have not been able to find any farmland close to my family that I can afford and run profitably. Now I also have to worry about the following energy and health risks that the crowd has addressed. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I went to college, I got a degree, I got a great job. I did all the right things, but I still am struggling to accomplish my American dream of owning a farm, raising a family in a safe environment due to large greed growing like a disease now infecting and attacking small towns. I should not have to argue with conglomerate billionaires who have homes on secluded properties, can afford to move away, or don't even live in the state they're building in. I hope everybody on the board with children and grandchildren think very hard about the consequences of zoning commercially. They cannot survive under hidden NDAs, dirty water, and 1 acre of land, even if they can afford it. I hope you can save yourself from the greed and selfishness that these billionaires have, who killed rural communities and the American dream of children who still aspire to be farmers, land keepers, and conservationists. If you haven't noticed, the rising suicide rate of farmers is going through the roof in Ohio, and I hope you don't drive this pressure to go up. Anyways, I hope you are against the data centers, and that is all I have to say.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and Sunbury residents. My name is Donna Meadows, and I live at 13767 East State Route 37. I'd like to speak for a few moments on property values and quality of life regarding these data centers. Some studies, like one from George Mason University on Northern Virginia's Data Center Alley, suggest homes near data centers and industrial complexes can sell for higher prices due to regional economic growth and infrastructure boosts that doesn't capture the lived reality for nearby residents. Many report constant noise, visual impacts from massive windowless buildings, increased traffic, diesel smells make their homes less desirable, even if broader market trends push values up temporarily. In Northern Virginia, residents near Amazon and other facilities describe a constant buzzing, like an airplane or leaf blower that never stops. And I think I'm not the first one that said this evening. Forcing people indoors, ruining backyards, and causing stress, headaches, and sleep issues. One woman living near 14 data centers and industrial complexes said the noise and diesel odors made it hard to even go in my backyard, yet she refuses to leave her dream home. Others have spent thousands on new windows or moved into basements to escape the hum. Closer to home in Central Ohio, New Albany, Hilliard, and areas near Columbus, residents echo these concerns. Noise, light pollution, and the shift from rural suburban charm to industrial zones affect daily life. Jerome Township officials note resident worries about property values
from noise and aesthetics. Buyers hesitate when they see data centers and industrial complexes on maps. Asking about resale, traffic, and neighborhood feel. In high growth spots like New Albany, while some see surging demand from tech workers, others worry about long-term quality of life erosion, higher utility costs, strained services, and a less peaceful environment that could deter families. Sunbury's appeal is our quiet neighborhoods, green spaces, and community feel. Not massive industrial buildings that alter views, add constant hum, and change our way of life. We risk lower desirability for families, potential resale challenges, and a hit to what makes our homes valuable beyond dollars. I urge the council to commission an independent study on local property and quality of life impacts required if it would happen, strong buffer noise mitigation, and please consider denial or conditions to protect what we cherish. Our homes are more than our investments, they're our lives. Please safeguard them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm getting exhausted.
Oh, yeah, please come up.
Okay, so, I was on video ever since Brooklyn's. I am boring.
You can speak at the mic.
You guys have the statistics. I don't have all that. I did speak with you, I think last summer. I was just kind of curious about data centers last year and I looked into it. And, by the way, running for governor, Casey Putsch, had a great YouTube video on data centers in Ohio, because he's from Ohio. And I want to tell you, if you look into it, it's scary. It's scary what's coming to our community. Now, I do have somebody outside ask me to ask you guys real quickly why you push it under an emergency and why you couldn't get a referendum on it. I don't understand all that stuff, but I will tell you this. It's sneaky how Amazon's done this. And I did talk to somebody that told me about that farmland out there, how it was done. You guys should know all this. Somebody bought it, turned around, sold it again. Do our farmers, for our future, kids, grandchildren, and I'm so glad I love your, the place where you have your beautiful plants. We need to care about our birds, our bees, our children, our grandchildren. I wrote this letter to different magazines in Ohio, as well as to different news outlets here. I don't know if anybody took notice of it, but I'm so glad all of you are here. This is what I'm going to read real quick. I got a minute. I recently watched a video of a family in Texas who lived near a data center. They explained how they had headaches, increased utility bills, and problems sleeping due to low white noise that at times vibrated the walls in their home. By the way, I did not use ChatGPT because God gives us all the ability to use the talents that we have to write and read books. Okay, this troubled me, and I did a research online to find the data center locations in Ohio, only to be shocked to discover a data center is coming soon to my township in Sunbury. I did some research and found that Amazon bought over 100 acres of beautiful land near me. By the way, I drove my Jeep out there last summer, stopped, took a picture of it, and I cried. That beautiful land. Do you see what those data centers are? Barbed wire fence around them, drones flying over them. Is that what we want in beautiful Sunbury? I think not. And why would this be allowed? Shame on anybody that allowed it. I also discovered that more than half of the world's hyperscale data centers are owned by tech giants, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, others. I discovered that Amazon is that giant that purchased the land, and would appear to me that these giants are known for acquiring the precious land quickly and sometimes suspiciously. Don't believe me? Just look up the other news outlets that have done research on it. It's on YouTube. They're legitimate sources. There are pages and pages of voices concerned on the internet, from high energy consumption, noise and air pollution, impact on the environment, health concerns for humans and wildlife. Look at our bird population that's going bye-bye. And the bees. We need pollinators. Oh, for our kids' sake, we need pollinators, farmers, farmland, clean energy.
There's more to the letter. You can leave it.
Okay, this is the last part I want to read. This is the highlight. That's probably why it didn't get printed. I would like to see a data center placed near the homes of Jeff Bezos, Satya Nadella, Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and another name I can't pronounce, this Japanese, very, very rich man, and numerous other tech giants and politicians that would like to see our precious land and resources depleted at the expense of our grandchildren.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank
We can, if there's more, we can put it into the records. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie and I've been here for about 40 years. I was not planning on coming up and speaking, but for me, I feel like we as the community all come up here and speak how we feel about what we want in our community. Sunbury and Galena has changed so much, and the people that have lived here for who knows how long can tell you that it is very much changed. And I feel like we speak and tell you how we feel about what we want for our community, but it's not heard. So is this all for naught? Are we going to be heard? Are we going to be taken into consideration on what we want and what we want to see happen? Because we're focusing on the Amazon data center, but it's a snowball effect. All these farmers are being bought up by LLCs, and then they're going to be turned into businesses, industries, whatever it may be. And then we're going to have no more farmland. We're not going to have, I see people, oh, the coyotes, the animals. We don't have anywhere for these animals to go either. So then they're going into people's land, and then they're wanting to worry about that. But we're out in the country for a reason. We want this community to be country feeling for a reason, and we're ruining it. And it's not just the industry that's coming in, but the homes. We're rezoning things without telling the community. I live in Harlem Township, and they've went around and rezoned areas. That's going to be changed. Instead of having 2.5 acre to 5 acre homes, now we're going to put 4 homes on an acre. So things are just not, it's not just the industry that's coming there, but everything is changing here. And I understand that there has to be growth, but why can't it actually be done responsibly? Why can't we listen to what the community wants and maybe do something instead of just, oh, we're going to do what we want and not worry about what they say, but we're going to give them the feel that we're doing something that we care by having us speak. But please take into consideration what we have as a community and what we would like, and not destroy what we have here, because it is beautiful. I wanted my kids to come here. I love this community. And now I want to move because I want to be in the country, and the country is gone. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is to take a second. I'm Neil Ayring. I live right down the road in Galena. I'm just wondering if any of you have actually seen one of these data centers. And my suggestion is, if you haven't, take a field trip. Go to Hilliard, go to New Albany, check out one of these data centers and see what you're bringing into our community. Just check it out.
Yeah.
Good call.
Hi, my name is Allison. I'm a member of, I guess now 5 generations of Sunbury residents. I live off of Trenton Road. Professionally, I am an informatician, so I've looked at data a lot. I also am a scientific researcher and have been published academically. And moving back to Sunbury and existing here, I've also tried to build back up my grandfather's apiary. Some of the bees I actually got this year were bees that were displaced because of a data center that was being developed about 45 minutes away. I think I agree with what a lot of people have said. I love Sunbury. It's very special, very, very special. But this past year was one of the worst years for honey production, for pollinators, and something like this data center would definitely affect that. We have a really special ecosystem here. Literally the other day I was driving down 605, and though it was super out of season, I saw like a whole flock of monarchs. That's something I've never seen in my whole life here, but that we get to see here and experience here. We have hummingbirds. We have such beautiful wildlife here. And this past year, the bees were starving, like literally starving. The behavior that they had were unlike anything that I've seen. I've kept bees for close to a decade now, and then experienced them for a long time with my grandfather. And that apiary would just be a couple miles, away from this data center. And like people have said, those are longstanding effects that could really affect, not just us, but our children and really just the health and safety of our community in general. And I just felt compelled to share that because it was something I experienced in the past year. And that really was what started me looking into data centers, because I actually was kind of interested in how we could maybe have more wildflowers in the city and have this be a healthier, more nutritious area for some of the wildlife that we have and for some of our native pollinators. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Patrick Jansen. I live in a high street here in town. I've been here for 46 years. I married my wife, who's born and raised in Sunbury. I get emotional too because of all these great people in my ditto. Holy smokes, the bees and the things that are important because we're all part of that cycle. You know that from the start to the end here, we're all part of that cycle. Whether you're a little critter that's looking to have noise reduction or a big critter that's looking to have a nice, enjoyable place to live and raise your family, or any kind of critter, because that's kind of what we all are. And like, so I think you guys have a big task on your hands because how many times do we have to change variances or rezone? We have these kind of zones and these variances or these kind of rules in zoning for reasons because we want to have a community that we like. So I don't know how many times we need to bend over backwards necessarily because it's our community. We pay the taxes here. You guys are doing a great public service job, but it's through our tax dollars. We pay taxes. I don't get any tax breaks. I pay 1% for my income tax here, plus I pay taxes locally in Columbus, plus I pay, the taxes are spread out pretty nicely. So we think we should do something. You guys do a great job, but when things like this happen, we get really excited, and I think you guys are doing a great job, but you need to listen. Where are we going to get all the water? Like 10,000 to 50,000 people that might use that much water for that town. Where's that water coming from? Where are we going to get it? And then where's it going to go? Where are they going to dispose of it? And how does that disposal look? And is that disposal full of heavy metals or anything like that? Like, this is what Sunbury is about. I moved here a long time ago, and we used to have that smell in Sunbury from Nestle's. They used to call it Nestle's, which I didn't understand, but Nestle's is kind of what I always knew it to be. And there was a terrible smell that we had to live with, and it didn't smell like coffee or Nestle's or chocolate. It kind of smelled terrible. And we kind of worked as a community to go, if we're going to grow a community as Sunbury and make it lovely, let's maybe change that job and maybe make some other jobs that are a little prettier, nicer, or that at least are not as taking all the water. They also want to take all the water, like 1/100 of what we pay for the water. So we're looking for where's our breaks in this because we're working hard to do our job. And I went to college, I'm an optometrist. I still pay my student loans, I get it. The light is an issue, light pollution is a problem for all the critters, for us. The home, we already have a noise ordinance. I looked it up for my chickens. I respected that not get a rooster because I don't want to make everybody mad because there's a noise ordinance. Well, if there's a home that's going to be created from this, let's think about these things. The water, I want to know about the water. I think that's a big task on the water. The farmland green space is important. There's only so much space to go around in Sunbury. We don't want to keep going. Are we here to live here or to give it back away and I'll move away again? We're here to live here and love Sunbury. That's why we're here. And I thank you for your time, and I task you to look into these water things, take it serious. It's not about the money. It's about us. It's about us people. We are the people. We are the taxpayers. We're here for a reason. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. My name is Gary Kleinpace, and I live over on Hartford Road, about 4 miles as a crow flies from where the data center is proposed to be built. Everyone else here has talked about environmental, economic, social consequences of this. And so I want to talk about something a little different, the practical consequences. I work for a giant tech company. I do not speak for that tech company because I'm still pretty well on their own, but I deal with people who work in these data centers all the time. That is literally what my job is. And honestly, these things are useless. I really believe that. At least at the rate of growth that we are seeing right now, it is pointless. There was an article that came out last week that showed that AI data centers, they do not turn a profit at all. They do not have the customers. The thing that they're trying to do is put so many people out of work. And so just practically, what happens when that bubble bursts? I'm betting within 5 years. Honestly, personally, I think even sooner than that, but we'll see. What happens when that bubble bursts? And so when we have a giant eyesore that is languishing, I urge you to consider that. And then I urge you to consider how that will have an ongoing effect on all of the other things, the environmental aspects, the social aspects, the financial aspects. They're all tied together, and so I urge you to consider that, and I urge you to say no to this zone. Thank you.
Ben?
Barry Bennett, 272 High Street. I am not going to talk about the data center particularly, but more the process. It's been mentioned a couple times in a couple different ways about getting word out to the community. I've mentioned this to council before, but this is my first time mentioning it to this board. So thank you for the opportunity. Basically, it's a small speech about notifications. My point at that time when I mentioned it to council, which still remains, is that publicly posted notices for special hearings on zoning changes, variances, etc., are far too small in size to be noticed and or even read by anybody driving by these signs. They are only visible to those that do happen to be driving past or walking past. And I'm kind of glad to see this many people come out, but I've been going to enough of these over the years that usually that's not the case. I'm quite sure, and I do acknowledge that these notices are fully in compliance with all the current rules and regulations. I'm suggesting it might be time to revisit those regulations. Something, for example, like a data center that can and probably will have impacts to the community far beyond the immediate neighbors and owners of the adjacent property should somehow, I don't know how, get out in the faces of all of the people instead of a last minute meeting that probably got thrown together from my observations via social media posts. I think that's how most of this came together. So these types of projects should be brought to the entire community's attention. I don't know how, but somehow with enough prominence to be noticed by all and with enough time for the community to react, whether it's positive or negative. Smaller signs might be adequate for a single house in a residential neighborhood where the only people directly impacted are 10 houses in that specific area. Something like this impacts the entire community, and the word has got to get out a little easier. I understand that the result of this could and possibly even should be a slowing of large impactful projects such as this, as any community discussion usually takes a lot more time and effort. But I kind of see that as a good thing, and I'm sure this board also does. Wow, I'll repeat myself if I read this. So this was along the lines of what's also been mentioned about reaching out to all. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I like water. Yeah, what?
I'll take the water and.
Thank you. I guess I'll go ahead and go. Hi, I'm Rena Carver. I've lived in Sunbury for over 50 years. 50 years, let me say that louder. Yeah. I don't really have anything prepared. I've just been listening and I appreciate all of your time tonight. I really appreciate everyone in this room, downstairs, outside, who came out tonight to show their support and their love for Sunbury. You know, it's hard to accept the development when you've been here this long or longer, but there is positive development and there's negative. We've heard tonight much of the concerns and the data, which everyone brought their A game. I mean, awesome job on the research and the facts, and was impressive. The known and potential impacts concerning health, environment, you know, utility, tax costs, implications, property values, wildlife traffic, effects on farmers, etc. The list of cons is clearly long and growing. But what are the pros? This is a serious question. I really feel that the cons are clearly outweighing any pros at this point. No one moves to Sunbury, Ohio to be near a data center.
I'm not sure if anyone on the board lives in close proximity to the proposed site, and I'm under the weather, so excuse my voice. I would like to ask, a serious question. I hope that you personally consider what the real pros to this are. Especially if you were someone that lived in close proximity to the area. I happen to know two people personally, a relative and a work colleague that are currently reconsidering Sunbury as a place that they were considering moving to, depending on how this turns out. It's not looked on as positive by residents and others. How you vote will be the message that you send on what Sunbury is about. To me, it's about common sense, and like I said, I didn't bring all of the data with me. I'm aware of a lot of it, but to me, it's about common sense and about wrong and right. And this isn't right for Sunbury. It's not right for the residents. It's not right for the future of this area and any of its future residents, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you for your time, and thank you to everybody again that came out tonight. It's much appreciated from a longtime Sunbury resident and a big Walnut. Go Eagles.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kristen Adams and I live at 309 Fleming Drive, just down the street. We've heard many arguments tonight that should give every community member and every council member pause about the potential rezoning of the industrial park, and my comments will add to those concerns. Not a lot that is new here, but I think you really need to understand how many voices are in opposition to what is proposed. I also have been to a few of these before about rezoning, and it's never been quite this large, and it's so nice to see the community coming together. Small town, big ideas, perfect balance. That's the motto of Sunbury. I love that motto. It sets a wonderful ideal that keeps community at the heart of all we do. The small town comes first. However, I'm concerned how proposed rezoning will completely undermine this motto, actively undermine it. This rezoning effort would be selling out to big tech and would set Sunbury on a path that can never be undone, especially given the burst that will likely come and that we can't go back once we start. It's no coincidence that the uptick in data centers in this country right now, driven by big tech, is occurring at the very same time that the federal government is unraveling EPA regulations that are in place to keep our air and waterways safe at an alarming rate. A former EPA scientist, Vijay LeMay, has stated the evidence is crystal clear that in order to have a strong, vibrant economy, we need environmental protections and that enable health and well-being for all people. End quote. I understand that we want to diversify our city's financial revenue streams for a strong economy. For instance, the recent rezoning in my own neighborhood to bring in the Roman William Hughes apartment development. But it makes no sense to introduce so much proven environmental risk with data centers, risk that will inevitably rise thanks to deregulatory efforts that remove protections for communities like ours. And for what? The projected 50 permanent jobs of the Amazon data center? This is not bringing a perfect balance to Sunbury. While I appreciate the money that will be siphoned off for the Big Walnut local school district, I guarantee it's not worth the risks and damage that will be introduced into our city. We do not want the data center. We must stop the proliferation of corporate greed that will forever change the feel of small town that exists here in Sunbury. It makes it a great place to live. This rezoning plan is certainly a big idea, but that doesn't mean it's a good one. Please, let's go back to the drawing board and find a better solution that more effectively matches our motto that you serve to uphold. Thank you.
Sorry, planning on speaking tonight, or I would have dressed a little nicer. I just wanted to say, my name's Wendy Jansen. I live on High Street. I'm a lifelong resident, born, raised. I wholeheartedly agree with all the concerns that everyone has had. I too get emotional because it's my town. Based on what I've seen the last day about the posts on social media concerning the U.S. hockey team, I think it's safe to say that people love when the underdog wins. I think this is a great opportunity to do that. To go up against these big conglomerates is not easy, and it's not popular a lot of times, but with us, with the citizens, with Americans, with everyday people, it is so popular. And we would not just be a desirable place to live, we would become the place to live if we could stand up to this and say no. Because the last I read, Ohio was leading the way in data centers. Ohio's done its part. I think it's time to say no. I think it's time to say no.
Evening, Michael Sutta from the CHP community down off Sunbury Road. By way of background, I actually spent 13 years on Wall Street as a professional investor before retiring here or semi-retiring here, changing jobs and getting away from the insanity of Wall Street. But I did want to point out that as someone who's trained to think very logically in terms of risk rewards, this strikes me as a very poor risk reward, right? On the plus side, if you look at Goldman Sachs, they recently put out a report saying 80 to 100% hikes in electricity bills for communities with these data centers. We've heard from a number of experts and perspectives on the extensive health and environmental damages. There's also real obsolescence risk that I would have you point out with these data centers and the technologies involved in them. So I would caution you to not think in 30-year terms, but maybe in 5 or 10-year terms as the life of a lot of these facilities. The plus is, $300 to $500 lower property tax bill, and maybe modestly higher property values is what AI itself spits out as the benefits. Consider the incentives behind those engines, right? Those are the people who want you to build them, right? So if that's all they can come up with, right, that has me deeply worried, right? But I can also tell you from having a front row seat on Wall Street for 13 years. 90% of the companies, including Amazon, who has a reputation for being ruthless, they just don't care, right? They only care about profits, right? And the reason they want to build this data center is because it's a great risk reward for them, not for us. So please consider that in your deliberations. We would hate to leave this community, but if this data center does actually come to fruition, living here will be a bad risk reward for a lot of people, and you may find that the property value benefits that you're thinking about, and also the additional kind of revenues that you're penciling in, will be offset by people migrating out of this community as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning to come up. My name's Jackie. I live off of Brookview Drive. I've lived here for over 40 years. So the overwhelming majority, I don't think I've heard one person who has been for this data center. It's clear that the community has really spoken. My concern is that it's not just going to affect Sunbury. Harlem Township is dealing with this right now. And if this continues to grow the way it is, it's going to start trickling into my area, which we're already trying to push out what they want to do. And so my concern is not just for the Sunbury, but for the Galena and all these other little areas that are going to be taken over. I also have well water, and guess what? It's going to be seeping into my ground. And so that is a big concern for me. It's not that far away. I also have a cousin who's building a $250,000 house, and he had no clue about this data center. He's got 4 little kids, and now he's like, what am I going to do? And so it's a big concern, not just for me, my family, the community. And I am really hoping that the dollar bill isn't going to be the factor, because it's clearly not what this community is looking for. We can do other things in this community besides a data center that's going to bring 50 huge jobs to this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is everybody doing okay? All right, let's roll.
Good.
Yep, good to go.
Did not plan on speaking tonight. Obviously,
just riding off of everyone else's energy. My name is Allison Kelly. I live on Woodtown Road in Harlem Township. I think when I looked it up earlier, it was maybe 3 miles from the proposed data center site. I also am running off of I'm on well water. I have zero desire to be on Delco because if you look up Delco water's rates, it's terrible. I think it's EWS, again, not prepared. Look up what's in that water. I don't want to have to get a whole new filtration system for my house just to be able to drink my own water. My husband and I bought our home 4 years ago. I work in Reynoldsburg. Every day my drive to work was great. I used to go past Hendren Farms. It was beautiful. Amazon buys out. All just shit now. Sorry. I'm a mechanic. I'm not good. I'm not good with words. But Hendren Farms is bought out. It's gone. You've got Beach Road is nothing. It's just disgusting to travel down now. You've got the other road that is right behind Google. It looks like crap. It's got constant construction. I don't want that near me. I've already seen so many homes go up on Green Cook. I understand people are building because they want to have a beautiful country life. You are screwing them over if you do this. No one is going to have a beautiful country life. My husband and I were very, very lucky to be able to get his childhood home. His family has been in the Harlem area not my family, I'm not even sure. I grew up in Sunbury, moved here in 2000 with my family. I remember when it was a farmhouse where Kroger was. Do you guys have any idea how difficult this is for people who love Sunbury and want to stay local to watch all of this? And it's one thing if it's homes and it's new people and it's people that can actually give something to the community. If you put a data center, I'm sorry.
You're good.
If you put a data center, you are going to poison everyone. AI is being forced on everyone, and it is going to be the death of you. You are not going to be needed. I'm luckily a mechanic. I've got skills with my hands. Any of you that your job can be done by AI, guess what? Those companies will switch you over. No one cares about you when it comes to the higher ups. They don't care. Sorry, that's all I got. I don't know. You need to say what I thought I was going to say.
I don't know how to follow that. My name is Maura Elliott. I've grown up in this area. I recently moved because I got married just to Ashley, so I'm not far. I'm speaking on behalf of my mom, who has lived here since 2012. So I've grown up in Sunbury. I love this town. I'm passionate about the environment. I've studied it in school at a major in biology. Everyone's made great points about all of the different things that could go wrong by having the data center here. I feel like my main point is, if you had to have a house right next to it, would you want to live there? I personally would not, for $1 million, and you could not pay me any amount of money to live next to it. I've seen the studies. I'm so proud of the community for coming together. I've seen videos online of them standing up against this and being successful. I hope you guys take into account what is being said tonight. I've been told that being opposed to this is being anti-growth, and I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think it's smart to want to see scientific studies long term, not just in the short term. I think this is also a call to everyone who uses AI to start limiting your usage, because you can't say no to a data center and also use AI. And I don't use ChatGPT or any of those things because I know the consequence of them. I hope you guys will consider what's being said tonight. I really appreciate you guys hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak with the planning and zoning commission? Come on up.
My name is Joe Fuller. I'm from Centerburg, Ohio, construction worker. I'm going to provide an insight view of what a data center looks like, how they operate, those kind of things. Something that nobody here at this board knows about. So these data centers, each one of them has on average 120 generators that are about the size of this room. They have 9,000 gallons of diesel fuel on standby for each one of those generators. 2 weeks ago, we had over in New Albany, one of these generators exploded. Did you guys hear about it in the news? No. Nobody heard about it in the news. I've been inside this data center. I can't name which one it is, but I have seen thousands of gallons of glycol and other modifiers basically poured out all over the floor because of a spill. And their protocol isn't what the EPA would do. That's not something you want here. That's not something you want anywhere near your families. The noise output in these things, I mean, people have said it already, that it's not what you want for your community. The groundwater pollution, I mean, they have forever chemicals that come out of these things that, I mean, you couldn't even imagine. It is so bad that their water filtration systems inside of the building that they have for their construction workers, they do not drink them. So the people that are running the building, you never see them use those water filtration systems. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the water coming out of those systems is not healthy. And why would you want it going into our streams, our aquifers? Why would we want them to use Hoover Reservoir? Because the amount of water that they're going to use is way more than what Hoover Reservoir can replenish in a season. So looking at the data centers, I mean, they have AC cooling units that are as big as this back wall. And in each data hall, there is roughly 30 of them. There's probably 6, 8 to 10 data halls within a data center. Those AC systems use glycol, water, and other modifiers in their systems, and they use more power than a standard home emits in a year within maybe a month. Keep going. All I've got to say is a data center is extremely bad for Sunbury. And I've seen what they do, and I've felt the effects on my body. Like I have constant headaches every day because of it. And that is not something you want in your community.
Thank you.
And I think I've given a good insight on it.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Anybody else want to speak with Planning and Zoning Commission? All right, I want to thank the public very much. This is, I mean, for how many people we had speak, very respectful of each other's opinions. I thank the commission. Thank you for being attentive. I think I've got maybe 34 pages of notes or so, and we're going to decipher all the feedback. We're going to take all the feedback, all the questions, all the comments, and don't say we're going to respond. We're going to interpret what that means and bring that back to this board. That sound good? Thank you so much. All right. Looking for a motion on the minutes from February 2nd. I'll make the motion. Got a motion by Mr. Palma. Second by Mr. Long. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Stark. Yes. Mr. Soderman,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller. Abstain. Mayor St. John.
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
Great, thank you. Alex, you have a zoning report.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Excuse me. So the month of February, we had 9 new zoning certificates, 7 of which were new builds, all still for Pulte, and then 15 occupancy permits, which were also Pulte. Puts our total for new builds at 11 on the year. Last year we were at 22, but again, just Pulte building right now, and we should have a couple new subdivisions, Kinder Crossing and Woodland Lake are both on the verge of going. I think I've said it every month now, but eventually it'll be true. And then aside from that, Magnolia Park is at 100%. zoning certificates now, so all of their planned homes have received their zoning and they are just waiting to finish completion of building and get their occupancy. And that puts us at 11 total units, single family units, pardon me, to date on the year. So nothing too crazy, just relatively low. But any questions as far as planning or the zoning report go?
Any comments, questions? All right, thank you very much. All right, discussion, new business, Mr. Long?
Nope, not today.
Mr. Stark?
No.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes, could we look at some calendar dates? I know, our May meeting is on Memorial Day and we need to reschedule that. And I believe, Daryl, do we need to look at a working meeting for Alex?
We do at some point, but let us push some dates out to the member.
Okay.
On that.
So that'll be coming, and please respond, so that we can get some things scheduled.
Okay, great. You'll send us out some alternate dates for May? Yeah, well, all right, thank you, Mrs. Miller. All right, Mr. Paula, in your unfinished business, Mr. Stoddard?
I just one comment, or I should have brought this up when we were talking about meeting minutes. I always listen and watch the meeting, and I noticed our meeting from last time had no audio.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a recurring thing or a one-off, but
it is a one-off. So I don't know if you remember the last meeting, we didn't have internet here. So we recorded it on a separate app. Currently working through that to adjust the volume levels to get it so it can be
so you
heard.
do have it.
Yeah, I have the meeting
super.
recording. I just, when I play it, it's super. If you mess with the equalizer on there, you can definitely hear the volume. I'm trying to find the best method to make it not sound gurgly. So still working. We have the meeting minutes and we do have the recording.
Okay. I know we're going to be talking about at least one of those things again, and I wanted to make sure that I had all those notes.
It is
right. I talked. So.
actively working, but I'm not tech.
All right.
Tech savvy.
Thanks.
Please
Appreciate that.
We'll get there. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, next item is the next meeting is March 23rd, 2026. Any concerns? Okay, all right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Miller. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Soderman,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mrs.